So I think I was just saying that we were going to compare this culture story to some other stories and ideas of...
Right. So I have a couple quotes that I'll read. The first one is out of the Ohlone Way, which is a book describing the San Francisco Bay Area native peoples. And it says, competitiveness was not an Ohlone virtue. In fact, to stand out and place one's self above the society was considered a serious vice, the mark of a dangerous, grossly unbalanced person. When praise and honor came, it came not to the egotists or the braggarts, but to those who showed the most moderation and restraint, to those who were able to share most generously.
Doesn't it go on there and give an example, though? No. Okay.
Talks about government.
Right, but what I hear from that saying is that in the system set up in their culture, people were rewarded for, like in there somewhere it does talk about how, you know, if someone would get meat and they would just generously give of it, then people would give to them and they would be rewarded for that. Whereas from this culture, it's take as much as you can, give as little as you can. Or
oh, here we go. Here it is.
Okay, great.
The Ohlone hunter did not feel that he lived in a highly competitive, every man for himself world. Rather, he saw himself as a working member of a family and a tribelet, organizations which he knew from birth as trustworthy. This is really important, because how do you shift to anything cooperative when you don't trust your family?
That is a good question.
Oh,
I get chills. Oh.
They were permanent features of the world, organizations which he felt sure would take care of him when he was sick and weak, as well as when he was strong and able.
Just to pause and say that points out a huge value of this culture versus another culture of our safety. Every human being, I think every human being wants safety and security, life to death.
Right.
Birth to death.
Right. And that's totally natural.
That's natural.
That's, you want to live.
You
like
want to
live.
know you're going to be safe. That we want. Okay, from our culture, we get that through money and power. Right. That's what this culture says.
Right.
And this culture, he's saying he gets that from the relationships.
Right.
Huge difference, just worthy of pointing out. So
right.
Continue.
And the fact that they would have lived that way for so long does indicate that they knew how to build relationships that worked for them. Because I think most people in our culture don't have that experience. Relationships are traumatic.
Yeah, we don't have this, I mean...
So it's safer in our culture to avoid the relationships or to make them not so important to our survival, because it's easier to just rely on your own and get what you can because you're the only one involved, you know.
Right, and because if I start acting generously towards someone who's just in that mindset of taking, well, I'm just going to get screwed. So
exactly.
We have to get a group of people, and this is how do we transition, is get a group of people who agree together that, well, we want to work on this, and we're all from this culture, we don't really know, but we want to try.